All right, good evening to my love streamers. Welcome on board. We're glad you're here tonight, and welcome to everybody here that's in the hood tonight. So let's close our eyes, put everything on the chair next to you. Let's take a deep breath in. One more. Take another deep breath in. Once again, you made it. You're here. So let's take whatever happened during your day. If there was any chaos or any disorder or anything, just set it aside for just a few moments. And let's know that right here, right now, you are in your right place. By divine appointment, you are here. And by divine assignment, I am here as well. And because of that, I know something absolutely divine is going to come from this evening. This lesson tonight is so steeped with such spiritual principles. I know that your minds are open, your hearts are open. You're ready to receive that which is important to you and to embody it into the future of your life. For this wonderful opportunity, we just say thank you, beloved presence. We let this wonderful evening unfold, and it does so. And we now join together by saying, and so it is. And so it is. Amen. All right. So grab a partner, preferably someone you haven't worked with before. Take your journal with you. You'll need your journal for the first half. So go ahead and grab your partners. Does anybody need a partner? If you need a partner, raise your hand. Wave your hand around so we get you a partner. All right. Ellison, you have somebody? All right, I'm going to partner you up with, actually, partner you right here with Hollis and Lynn. How's that? All right, perfect. All right, here's your assignment. We're just going to go through something. First of all, how was your daily reading? How did the receiving exercise go? Remember this week you had to receive. You had to say yes. Hopefully you said yes to everything that came your way. If you didn't, you got to explain to your partner why you didn't. And then what did you do? How did you do with the thank you cards? Did you send them all out? I got several of yours, thank you. But did you send them all out? Did you send one out every single day? Did you manage to get through that process? So let's share that for like maybe 5 minutes, and then we'll get going on the rest of the exercise today. So go ahead. Introduce yourself first of all, and then go from there. So my live streamers will be back in 5 minutes, and then the rest of this will be done together. Okay, thank your partners. Stay right where you're at. Thank your partner. Stay right where you're at. What I want you to do is just close your eyes for just a moment. Get comfortable, and I want you to listen to what I'm about to read. We're going to do one more short partner exercise, and then we'll be doing the rest in a large group. So for those of you who are joining me on the live stream, hang in. Here we go. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and just listen to my words. The spiritual journey is all about learning to trust. Throughout our lives, we experience the disappointments of being human. Loved ones die, jobs end, people get divorced, outlets for good eventually run dry. And when it does, we mourn the loss and wonder, where will our good come from now? In time, we learn that love doesn't come from other people, it comes through them. After numerous job changes, maybe we eventually learn that an employer is not the source of our prosperity. Through our individual human experiences, we find the divine. We learn that even though life circumstances may change, the only lasting truth is that God is always there. The universe never fails us. God did not abandon its creation. It is an infinite, eternal supplier of all that is good. When one outlet for good closes, you may rest assured that another one will open quickly. Learning to trust the universe is our greatest challenge as spiritual beings. Letting go of the ego's need to strategize and manipulate our good in an everyday task. But the one who succeeds is the one who finds the most peace. The one who can trust the universe can say, I don't know how my good will come or from what channel it may flow, but I know it must come. So you're going to do one more exercise with your partner. What blocks my ability to trust? And how can a person grow in trust? So we're going to start talking about trusting now. What blocks your ability to trust people? And then how can a person grow to trust? Let's discuss that with your partners for just a few minutes, then we'll come back together. Okay. Once again, thank your partner. Head back to your seats. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So here's the question. What blocks your ability to trust? What are the blocks? What blocks your ability to trust? Go ahead. Call it out. Fear. History. What's that? Big history. Not history. Big history. It's a big history of, okay, not just a little bit. It's a big history. All right, anybody else? What else?
Looking to the condition for permission.
Looking to the condition for permission keeps you from doing that, all right? Okay. Anybody else? Hurt. Come on. Rejection. Yeah. What's that? Disappointment. Sure. These are all, listen to, I mean, who here hasn't experienced those things? I mean, we all experience versions of this, right? We all experience versions of this, and it blocks us from trusting people, trusting situations. One of the biggest one is one of the things we have to recognize, one of the basic tenets of our philosophy is principle knows nothing about precedent, which means principle doesn't know precedent, and it doesn't know that there's a past practice attached to something. We're the ones who attach our past to a future. The universe doesn't attach a past to a future. It just looks at the future. It looks at your now and manifesting that which you're thinking about in your consciousness. So one has to really realize that if there's ever been a stumbling block to trust, it's not the universe that's making you stumble. It's your perception of your past. And how much of your past do you want to carry forward? How much of your past do you want to, let's say we took all of our past experiences, our big history, and we loaded them into a bag, right? And we put that bag over our shoulders. And now you have history of disappointments and hurts and fears and everything you just talked about, right? So imagine putting all those in a bag, putting it over your shoulder, and say, okay, now let's move forward. I mean, how far are you going to go? I mean, your back's going to hurt pretty quick if you start trying to carry all of that forward. So there comes a point in time where you have to go, wait, since the universe doesn't know my past, I can't reflect on what has happened in the past. I can only set my intention and attention on what's going to happen in my future. That's how we break through the blocks. That's how we break through that trust barrier, is we say, you know what? Okay, clean slate. I'm going to give you the clean slate. So is that how you do it? Let's talk about that. How can a person grow in trust? Learn to let go? No history? Do it anyway. Okay, how's this? Let me tell you what. Take your age, right? And I want you to say, you know what? It's worked out up till now. Guess what? You're still here. You may have had bumps in the road, but if you just take one look in the rearview mirror, you've come a long way, baby. And something tells me that your fears, maybe some of them were realized, but I bet you the majority of them were never realized. You spent a lot of time thinking about them, distrusting them, not being able to trust the universe. But if you look at where you are, you've already made that. The proof is in your life as it stands today. That doesn't mean if parts of you are a mess, that's okay. But I bet you're not a total mess, right? I don't know, not a total mess. But understand, wow, there's jabbing going on all over the room. You're the mess, you're the total mess, you're a big old hot mess. Okay. But understand, look at what it says. And I love this line. You know what? The readings this week are readings that I hope you don't put this in the pile of classes I've taken, You know that pile of paperwork that you have and you go, oh yeah, I took that class and that workbook's over here? The readings that you did this week, every one of them has a real profound message that is timeless. You want to know the most timeless part of this entire first part, in my opinion? The very last line of your Learning to Trust, page 8 on your thing that you did this week. The last line, I don't know how my good will come or from what channel it may flow, but I know it must come. I know it must come. Does it say, I hope it will come? I'm willing to bargain so I make sure it comes. I'm willing to strategize, manipulate to make sure it comes. No. It says, I don't know where my good's going to come from, but I know it must come. What if you could look back in your life and say, you know what? There's truth to that. I didn't know the certain circumstances were going to happen to me. I didn't know that I was going to have a breakup and that someone would make their transition and that I would lose my job or that the company would go bankrupt or the economy would tank or whatever the list is that goes on and on, right? But no matter what happened then, I'm still here. And I still have a future. And I'm still breathing and I still have a pulse. So that must mean something is going on. Or the potential to have something going on is there. Does that make sense? So I want you to examine if you really believe that the universe has your back. Do you believe that?
Yes.
So why would it ever abandon you for special circumstances?
It won't.
It won't. It won't. Now, it may not look like you think it's going to look, right? Good comes in all different packages, so make sure that you're really good about the qualities of good that you want to have in your life, and make sure that those qualities, you're open and receptive to looking at the qualities that are surfacing in your life. So it may come in different ways. That doesn't mean the universe isn't working. It just means it's working differently than you anticipated. You can't tell God how to be God. Try that. Just give it a shot. You know? When you pray, what's that? When you pray for the demonstration. How the details fall out is none of your concern. You have to trust the universe to do what the universe knows how to do. And not try to overanalyze every single semicolon. Because what happens, we become obsessed with looking, God, give me a sign. And then if we don't see the sign, we abandon our intention. I guess it's God's will that I don't have it. No, it's just not there yet. You know, it's like eating a half-baked chicken. If you keep opening the oven to look and see what's going on, you'll never get the chicken cooked. So you got to leave it closed until it's time for the manifestation. Then, bing, you're going to see it right in front of you, just like a chicken ready to eat. But you wouldn't dare take that out early, would you? Anybody want to gnaw on a raw chicken? No. But we look at our prayers, and we expect God to show me signs just like the chicken is cooking. And the universe doesn't work that way. It just works. And it works every time. Now, if you have an expectation that it's not going to happen, which is a problem, let's go back to the prayer workshops that we've done before, right? The spiritual pasta maker. How many of you don't know what the spiritual pasta maker is? All right, a couple people. I have to tell you, when you go to the prayer workshop, you learn that the universe just knows how to do. Whatever thoughts you put into it, it goes through I call it the spiritual pasta maker, because it just goes ying, 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 and out comes your demonstration. It can't reject what you put into it. It would be great if it could go, nope, don't put that in there because you're going to get screwed if you do. If that were the case, would anything ever be wrong with your life? If there was a God that could go, don't do this, and kept you from doing what it is that's going to cause you bad. Do you think that any of us would have experienced bad? No, right? But God just knows how to do. It just knows how to, it says, my son and daughter, it is my pleasure to give and give you abundantly. What is it that you want? Whatever you're thinking about goes into the pasta maker. Yin, yin, yin. So let's just imagine, if you will, that you want to demonstrate something in your life. So let's call it red dough. It's just red, right? It's the color red. So you're thinking, my perfect picture is red. You envision this beautiful red, whatever it is. It could be a relationship, it could be money, it could be a job, it could be whatever it is, but let's just call it red, all right? So I'm gonna put that red in, but in the back of my mind, I'm going, yeah, God, I kind of hope this works. Okay, you just took the red dough and you sprinkled a little blue in there, all right? So what happens when you put it in the pasta maker? Ying, 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 ying. What comes out? Purple. Did you put purple in? No. So you scratch your head and go, wait a minute. I didn't order purple. No, you ordered red with doubt. The doubt, it can't reject your fear. So you have a demonstration, but it's not to the level that it could be because you sat there worrying about how that's going to happen. But if you let the universe if you let God be God and say, you know what, God, I want this to happen in my life. I want to have a loving relationship or whatever you want. And without going, God, I hope this works, or no, it never comes to me, or I have a history about this, or I'm fearful about this, and I distrust this. Okay, what are you doing? You're just sprinkling blue all over it until it becomes more blue than red. Doesn't that make sense? I bet you could look at the things that you prayed for, and that yet you still had an element of doubt around it. You still demonstrated something, but it just didn't quite hit the mark. Anybody? Closer to brown, a dingy brown, right? So that's what you have to learn. The universe must respond. That pasta maker, ying, 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 always is moving. And it's always listening to everything going on in your head. Everything. There is no block. There is no deflector. It all goes into the pasta and the spiritual dough. And what comes out is a reflection of what's been happening in your head. My guess is, if you told me what's really going on in your head, we could look at your life and point at exactly how it's manifested. Oh, come on. We can do that at the table. We'll do it the next time we play blackjack together. Okay. All right, next thing. Here we go. This too shall pass. Close your eyes and just listen to this. Just listen. Whether they are financial or not, the problems you face in life are like clouds passing over the sky. They are temporary experiences not designed to last. Ultimately, you can trust God to care for you and prosper your life. Any experience that seems to contradict that is a fact today that can easily change tomorrow. Remind yourself daily that the ultimate source of your good is God. Your prosperity does not come from outside of you. It is not conditional. It is not dependent on any person, company, or event. Financial problems do not have to be permanent. A financial problem is the same as a recurring pain recurring in your body. It is trying to get your attention. Give it your loving attention and then take whatever action is necessary to heal it. Just like every other condition in your life, it comes to teach you who you are. You are the power. You control your destiny in life. You are the director and God is the producer. You decide how it will be, and then God fulfills your ideas by causing them to come into fruition. Don't forget. So, this too shall pass. What is blocking your ability to move on? If there was a block that was keeping you from moving on, what is that? Can you identify it? Let's try this. You don't even have to say it out loud, Are you ready? I want you to take your hands like this. Put them out in front of you. And now raise them up over your head. Close your eyes for a minute. Put your blocks into your hands. Just visualize them coming out of your body into the top part of your hands, into your cupped hands at the top. Imagine I have a cosmic vacuum cleaner, and I'm going to go, and every one of those problems, lower your hands, it's out now. It no longer exists in your life. What would happen if you didn't have those blocks? What would happen if I made you give it up just now and you couldn't get it back? What would your tomorrow look like? What would your attitude be like? Full of trust. Try again. Keep going. Trust. Faith. Joy. Sounds pretty good to me.
When you're driven to be agnostic,
It's a vacuum cleaner. I didn't say it was God. I called it a vacuum cleaner. Agnostics have vacuum cleaners. So just imagine, no, I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying it's a vacuum cleaner. Suddenly, if you were to separate yourself from it, it doesn't have God, whatever doesn't have to be an it. It's just, I'm done with this. You could take it and I could have you write it down and throw it into a fire. Whatever it is, it's the symbology that you knew exactly what to put in that cupped hand. Didn't we? Did anybody not know what to put in your hand? In fact, I bet you had to decide which ones you wanted to put in your hand. It wasn't just one. It was probably a few things that are blocking you. Anybody? Right? Okay. So, but one has to look at this and say, if it blocks my ability to move on, why am I insisting on anchoring my experience to that block? What attachment do I have with that block? You know, in Scripture it says, yea, though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right? Yea, though you walk through the valley of shadow. What is it? What are the two most important words there? Walk through. It doesn't say, yea, though I build my condo in the shadow of death. It doesn't say, yes, I'm going to reside in the shadow of death. It says, as I walk through it. Why do we insist on keeping those blocks? This too shall pass. Is this making sense? How can we grow in resiliency? If we know this, then how can we become more resilient? With experience. So imagine, if you will, a giant rock. And on the top of one of these mountains in Idlewild, right? And the rain comes, right? And the rain is trying to make its way from the top of the mountain, and it hits this giant rock. What's going to happen? Do you think the water's going to go, yo, rock, out of the way? What's going to happen? It's going to work its way around, isn't it? It's going to work its way around it. Many of us look and cuss that rock out. We look at our rocks, we know what they are, we know what our blocks are, and instead of trying to move around them, we sit there and curse them like that's going to suddenly change the rock. We're supposed to be a little bit more fluid. Let's call it that. Let's see ourselves being more resilient. So when we're met with an obstacle, we don't stand in front of it, I'm going to bust through this. No. You know what? See ya. I'm going to go right around it, and I'm going to keep going down my way. I don't have to make some giant stand about busting through the rock. Hell, there are people that I know in my life that feel like rocks. Anybody got those in your life? They feel like rocks? Right? Well, you're not going to bust through them, but you're going to have to figure out how to become resilient, and hey, I'll go around it. I'll make my own way around it. That's why we say to people, you know, we're not the religion, we're a religion, right? We're a philosophy. There are many ways to get up that mountain. There's a little pathway and there's a 4-lane freeway that goes up that mountain, right? So however you choose to get up there, You have an individual relationship, so your resiliency, your pathway around it, isn't going to be what anyone else thinks it should be. It has to be what you want it to be. Not me, not media, not TV, not your doctor. You get to decide how that's going to work for you. So test that when you're reaching the blocks, or you hit a rock, or you find yourself stumbling because of something you're not willing to give up. You have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Another reason why we don't give up our blocks is ego. The ego can't get rid of my block, because who would I be if I didn't have this? Who would I be if I no longer had to defend this to everybody around me? What would I talk about? Would they even like me? Am I willing to make the changes necessary to get rid of my blocks? These are all questions we have to ask, because if you want to dance in what we call the spiritual dance, right? You have to be willing to look at this stuff and say, okay, I've carried this long enough. I don't want it to curtail what life I have left. It's not worth that. I'm worth more than my baggage. And you have to state that with a fact and say, my good must come. I don't know what channel. I don't know what rocket has to work its way around. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter where I've been or what I've done. It only matters about where I'm headed. Comment on what it's like to need or want something that the universe cannot provide. This is an interesting perspective. What can the universe not provide? Make you younger. Cher would definitely disagree with you. Her pioneering efforts have worked wonders, but okay. But is there something that the universe cannot provide?
What you don't believe in.
Keep going. You're warm, Joyce.
What you don't trust.
The universe can't provide for you what you don't trust it to do. It cannot provide your fear. It cannot feed your fear. Only you can do that. The universe, that's not the intention of the universe, to feed your fears and doubts. That's self-imposed. I do that. But Joyce worked right up to it. It can't provide for you that which you even say, it's never going to happen, or I doubt it, when pigs fly. Whatever you use as your defense mechanism, and who here has those, right? Whatever we use to deflect our doubts and our fears, the universe then can't provide for you those things. Does that make sense? So you have to really examine how the life you've created is wonderful. You've made it. I feel like I made it through the rain. I feel like a song should bust out into song. You've made it up till now. And now what's going to happen next? See, I get excited. You guys are all going, holy crap. I've totally screwed myself, right? No, it's good. You made it here. You're here. But going forward, you have choices to make. And you can't say that you don't know. I don't know is no longer a response, because when you know that you know and you say you don't know, you're delusional. You're going to experience the same thing over and over and over again. Does that make sense? Moving on. Close your eyes for a second. The key to creating a prosperous life is knowing your worth. Understanding your value creates a receptive state of mind that draws to itself rich compensation. Those who devalue their ideas, contributions, or gifts are not in touch with their true inner worth and ultimately cannot live prosperous lives. You are not valuable because of what you've done or how much stuff you own. You are not valuable because of your education or station in life. You are valuable because you have an inner genius that has specialized itself in the unique person you are. Your value comes from the God in you. Be kind to yourself as you go through changes. Be patient as you learn new things. You don't have to do everything right the first time. You are growing in your awareness of the value you possess, so give yourself a break. Don't say harsh things to yourself and make quick judgments. Never diminish your contribution. Never deface God's perfect creation. Say to yourself, I accept my own power and I know how to use it. I accept my own worth and I understand its value. I accept my own potential and I'm willing to explore new ways to tap it. I accept my own love and I give it freely. So here's a question for you. What are some of the values of being a perfectionist? And what are some of the setbacks when you're a perfectionist?
Perfectionist is never satisfied.
Perfectionist, it's very hard to satisfy a perfectionist, isn't it? What else? What would be considered, let's talk about what a value of being a perfectionist. Let's talk about what's good about being a perfectionist. You're always trying to do your absolute best. Right. Well, that's the negative part of it. But let's talk about the positive aspects of being a perfectionist are that you have a drive. Okay? You have a drive. I'm sorry? And it's not just a drive, it's a drive with a results-oriented kind of thing. Quality, value, whatever that is. You have a desire to do something bigger and greater. And you have the desire to do that. Anybody else? What are the qualities of go ahead.
Just for myself, when I look at that, because that comes up in Gail's class.
Hang on, I'm going to give you that.
That comes up in Gail Morton's class on grief, some of the things that we use to avoid processing our grief, and it can be perfectionism. And that's been an issue for me because in 4 agreements, it says always do your best. It doesn't say be perfect. But I'm experiencing in my life, in particular in the area of writing, that I can allow the perfection of God to flow through to and as me, and it does evolve, and it does show up, and it does complete itself in human time. And it doesn't drive me crazy when I see it as the perfection of God flowing through me,
Okay.
rather than Michael being perfect. And I just got that tonight, and it's a huge shift because so often we hear perfectionism, you're avoiding things. And when that perfection of God becomes the I am that I am in the moment, it's joy. And
Can I
it's
add to
bliss.
that?
Yes, you may.
Life is not always completed in the first draft. Your best work isn't always in your first draft. That's the downfall of a perfectionist. Whether it's writing or art or whatever it is, it's not necessarily in the first draft. But a perfectionist thinks if it comes out of here and it comes out of here, it has to be perfect when it hits here. But I believe that life is not always perfect in the first draft. Sometimes you have to go back and do a rewrite. And something better, something more deeper will come the second time you look at it. It may not necessarily be flushed out the very first time. Whether that's an art project or whether that's a relationship or whether it's a job or whether it's writing, it doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes life just doesn't work out in the first draft. You have to go back and revisit it. So a perfectionist has a problem because they think it should be done right the first draft. Right? And a lot of people who are perfectionists also have obsessive compulsive disorder. So not only does it have to be perfect the first time, it has to be perfect and rightly placed the first time, right? There has to be all sorts of things that are happening with it. So it's a hard place to be when you try to attain that level and try to keep that level because, you know, if there's any resemblance of failure to yourself, even though it's not failure in the aggregate, if you find it to be a situational failure, many times we'll just abandon a project or go, and then hit writer's block or leave a relationship when it hits any kind of rough patch because it doesn't match what we think it should be on the first draft. So that is something I would just say. Watch out that you're not necessarily trying to write everything in the first draft. That's what it comes. May come the second or third or fifth time around. Yes. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. And then if you're a perfectionist, because I'm a perfectionist in a lot of ways. I've been working that out. Let's just say I've been spiritually working that out, releasing the control of being a perfectionist and expecting everything to be perfect and then raising hell if it's not, right? So I've had to learn, right, that everything, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be as good as I can make it. As long as I'm putting my all into it, I don't have to devalue myself because I didn't hit the mark the first time. I'm going to hit the mark, but it may take me another attempt or two to get there. I just have to be patient with the universe as the universe works through me, and I don't sabotage it with my doubt or feeling like I don't have value, because that's a really easy thing to fall into. It's the trap of a block that I've created for myself that's very convenient to pull out so I don't have to make another attempt. Does that make sense? I can just abandon the program. Okay? All right? How does society condition us to measure our value? How are we conditioned to measure our value? Wealth? Power? Fame? You're on it tonight, Joyce. You are on a roll. Yeah.
The one thing that I love about this teaching that helped me tremendously is that it's okay for me to be human and imperfect. The background I came from, the religious and the type of neighborhood and all that I came from, everyone had to be perfect, and everyone had to have that perfect family and the perfect whatever.
2.3 kids, the white
Yeah,
picket fence, and the car.
And so not everyone fits in that.
That's right.
And I, as some people know me, I don't fit in that.
Yeah.
Obviously, but it really is discerning to someone's self-worth when you don't go to that expectation.
Right. That's what people expect. That's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about society says this is what success looks like. Society says this is what, if you want to be happy, this will make you happy. Right? Buy this, you'll be happy. Society dictates a lot of what we believe our value is, because if I don't have it, someone this morning said, living here is sort of a challenge, because she said, I drive a really bad car. And I feel like people judge me as I'm driving my car. And she said, so I feel like I'm constantly being judged because of what I'm driving. And I'm like, okay, we can take anything out of the deck of cards of what called our life, and we can attach a lack of value to ourselves with whatever that is. Whether it's a car or what you drive or what you do or what you don't do, what you have, what you don't have, what you've done in your past, where you came from. I mean, we all have an accent or whatever that is. Everybody has something that they can put up and say, well, I can't achieve my very best because this is what's going on. I hear, oh, that's you, honey. Your ass is ringing. Okay. All right, so we have to watch out for trying to feel like we need to be perfect the first time. We have to really watch out that we aren't trying to match the expectations of something outside of us, but we're matching our personal own goal and our expectation, where I'm setting the bar for my own self. And I have to remember to be gentle. If you remember what I read about here, change happens, but I have to be gentle with myself as I'm making these changes. So we're not anticipating that tonight you're going to go home and go, okay, everything's just going to be perfect tomorrow morning. And I'm not going to have any residual of any of these feelings that surface again. Probably not. You're probably going to still have to surface these, but now I want you to have a conversation with that fear and doubt. And I want you to have what you need as talking points for yourself to bring you out of that conversation. Because only you can do that. There's only one person that can turn that around, and that's you. Your partner can't do it for you, your husband, your wife, your friends. No, only you can actually do that because it's all an inside job. No one makes you believe anything. There's something in you that attaches to that belief. Now we have to detach some of our beliefs so we can say, I am free from the bondage of this situation. Does that make sense? Are we good? Let's keep rolling. Next one, open to newness. Close your eyes for just a moment. Abundance in personal relationships is about releasing past hurts and resentments. It means opening your life to new people and feeling a closer connection to the people who are already around you. It may show up as a strong sense of community, like feeling a part of your church family. Abundance in career or self-expression means having work that not only fills your pocketbook, but also satisfies your soul. There's nothing more rewarding than coming home at night knowing that what you did with your time made something better in the world. Every area of your life can be touched by abundance. When you pray for abundance, don't limit your thinking to one area. Open your whole life to God's richness and accept the full blessing that awaits your claim. So, in order to do that, you have to ask yourself, what prevents you from trying something new? In order to be open to all of God's kingdom, what prevents you from walking into the kingdom? Fear of failure. Judgment. Fear of success. How about self-worth? Worthiness. Yeah? I told you the thing about Trey when he and I first met. When he and I, we've been like 29 years ago. I went to Christmas at his family's house in North Carolina. I call it Hooterville, affectionately. It's really Conover, North Carolina, but I call it Hooterville. So I went home for the holidays to Hooterville. And we were sitting at midnight mass, and we were talking, and we had been probably dating for like 6 months, and I was teaching him about spirituality. And, I hadn't found science of mine, but I was born and raised in unity, so I had a spiritual background anyway. So innately, I had this idea. And I know that, what you talk about, you bring about, what you pray for, you receive. And so we were standing up in midnight mass, and there was a prayer that was said in the Lutheran church. It says, I am a worthless sinner, worthy of your eternal damnation. Now, this is on Christmas Eve, right? And his mother, of course, wouldn't let us sit together because, well, how would that look? So she's between us, and we're standing, and they're saying these words, I'm a worthless sinner worthy of your eternal damnation. And I'm like, and I did this. I went like this. I was like looking right at her. I'm like, are you kidding me? Talk about preventing you from trying something new. How about that being your prayer? I'm like, ew. So it brings to light the fact that what presents us from something new is maybe we were taught that we weren't worthy of having something good. What would the neighbors think if you drove that kind of car? You're braggadocious. That would be ostentatious. You'd be a show-off. You don't want to be a show-off, right? My grandmother told my parents, don't ever buy a Cadillac because what would the neighbors think? They would think you're a show-off. So they didn't buy it until she died, and they went out and bought one the next month. It's like, God forbid that they think that my parents, they were just working. My mother was a school teacher. My dad was a superintendent of schools. They didn't have a whole lot of money. We were basic middle class, but my dad wanted a Cadillac, and my mother would not let him get it because Grandma thought it would be too much for her neighborhood when they drove up. So, but see, Joyce, and now that exactly there are whole generations, and there's generations, and I can lump this up. There are generations of people that believe that, and the problem is that belief inhibits their growth in prosperity because they say to the universe, I can only have up to this point because anything past that would not look good.
My family called it putting on airs.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And God forbid you did that. Now, why couldn't you just drive confidently in your Cadillac? Why do you have to worry about it affecting, why would you care what other people think anyway?
Well, my family did.
Well, yeah, it's a generational thing, people. But now I look and I go, you know what? Let's bust out of that. Let's bust out of that paradigm because that paradigm has set a ceiling to our good. Can you see where that would set a ceiling to what message are you sending the universe? I don't need any more because any more would be bad. I don't need to have that much financial security because what would that look like to my friends? Who cares? Live it loud. Live it out loud. Be proud of it. Identify a block you would be willing to share with the group. So anybody, when you put your block up, would anybody be willing to share what's in there? Self-worth. Self-doubt. Ooh. Yeah. Let me hit the snooze button on my good. Right? That's what happens when we procrastinate. We actually are just taking our good and we're hitting a snooze button going, I'll take it later. I'll take it later. I'll take it later. It's like the infinite, eternal snooze button. And we never wake up. Yeah. Poof. So we have to be careful because that's another thing. Anybody else want to share your block? So we have procrastination. Yes. I don't need that much. Ooh. Yeah, you can say I don't need that much, but I want more of this. So you have to go, I don't need that much, but I'll take all of that and then some. So you have to get the comma there. Don't put a period there because it's easy to put a period there. Put a comma, say, I don't need it, but I want it. So that opens up the door to more good. If not, you get exactly what you need. Okay? And some people in business, they do the same thing. They're like, I just need to make it through this month. I need more money for the month because I ran out of money in the middle of the month. You don't need to, but wouldn't it be fun if you just could without any questions? You just go, cool. I love that. You're holding down my good, honey. Honey, thank you, but I don't think you're allowed to hold back my good. I like that. Speak for yourself. That's a great one. No. That's cute. No. I like that. All right, what else? What other blocks? Yeah, Gary.
Someone brought this up in class last week. Who would I be then?
Yeah. Too much work. That's another one. Way too much work to do that. Not up for that. Who would I be? Who would reject me? Why am I doing that? These are all kind of different blocks. We all have them. You all lifted your hands up, and I didn't see anybody struggle to think about, what am I going to put in my hand? So if you would identify that and open yourself to the newness and say, you know what? I love this. Open your whole life to God's richness and accept the full blessing that awaits you. Does it say a partial blessing? Does it say a piece of the pie? What does it say? Full blessing. I don't want a sliver of good. I'll take the whole cake, thank you very much. Right? I don't need I love that Dr. Tom used to say that. If we said the Salton Sea contained the answer to prayer, how many people would go with a thimble and how many people would go with a tanker to go get all they could from it? Some people go, but some people have been raised to go, well, no, I only should get a thimble because I want to make sure everybody has enough, right? But if the universe supply is limitless, take the tanker.
Most people don't believe the universe is limitless.
Yeah.
Most people believe everybody you need enough. There isn't enough for everybody. There's people here throw food away. People over here don't have enough.
Yep. And if everybody shared their resources, If we had a universe where everybody shared their resources and didn't have fear over not having enough, this universe could feed and clothe and shelter and have safe water for everybody to drink and a sense of living that everybody could accomplish. It would be so easy, but the problem is it doesn't work that way because some people are fear-based and they go, nope, I got to have I got to hoard mine up. I just had an idea, but what was it? It just left me. All right, it'll come back to me. All right, let's continue on with this. How would you show up in the world if that block was simply not present? So if the cosmic vacuum disappeared, how would you show up? What would be different tomorrow? You'd be content. We talked about love. We talked about happiness. We talked about being joyful. Yeah, boy, wouldn't it be something lifted off your shoulders? Yeah, there would be clarity. So the clarity would replace confusion. You'd be more fabulous. Absolutely, you're fabulous now. Exactly. Add the more. Exactly. Exactly. Except at Joyce's house, you're only allowed to be so much fabulous. Because there's a limit on Joyce. Joyce has a limit on fabulousness and limit on those things. She's like, I was born and raised with the limit. I'm good with the limit. I'm hanging there. Okay. So, all right. What else would it feel like? Liberating. Independent. Free. You'd be like, oh my God, this day has so much potential in it because I no longer have this stuff to carry anymore.
I'd relax.
Yeah, breathe. Yeah. What's that? Fully present. Yeah, you'd be fully present. You wouldn't be, someone said this morning, it was really good. One of the blocks they have is they stumble over the good they have looking for more good. And I thought that was pretty relevant. They don't take the time to be grateful for what they have. They stumble over all that's good, and their longing keeps them in a place where they can't enjoy being in the moment. So maybe that would be released. If you knew that the universe said yes, how would you act tomorrow? How would you act tonight? If you knew the universe was saying yes, ready? Ying, 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 ying. Always saying yes. It all depends on what you're putting in it. It only knows how to do. It just, this is love. Remember we talk about everything is love and everything is law. This is love. This is the law. This is what we call the law. Yin, 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 yin. Right? This is the spirit. This is the soul. Yin, 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 yin. And this is the body. The thought becomes the thing. The seed becomes the plant. The becoming only knows how a seed. Think about it. The soil can't go when you put a seed on there, right? Can a soil get it out? Can the soil? No. It only knows what? How to receive it. Right? And you do the necessary work, it comes up as a plant. But the soil can't go, I'm not taking it. No more than you could throw a plastic water bottle on the ocean, and the ocean just throws it back into your boat and says, don't litter. It's not going to happen. Thought becomes the thing. The becoming is the universe always saying yes. And the thing is, it has always said yes to you, to the level of your belief. If it didn't come out the right color, I question what you put in it. And whether there was fear or doubt, or you came from a place of need and not faith. Let me repeat that. If you came from a place of, I need this, there was tension around it, versus a place of, this is mine to experience. Because that's a whole nother energy and a whole nother color you're putting into the dough. Imagine that, right? Everything goes in there, every emotion and every thought. So that allows us to be fully present. A new day. Last one, then we're going to take our break here. Every day is a fresh new beginning. Every day your world is made new by the thoughts you choose to think. Your only tie to the past is the memory you hold in mind. Keep the memory of the good experiences and treasure them. Learn from past negatives and then release their memories back into the past where they belong. Spend this day living in the now. Be fully present to the golden opportunities that come your way. Remember, good is always trying to make its way into your life, but you have to be willing to see those opportunities as they arise. It is the nature of life to progress and move forward. It is your nature to grow in prosperity and wisdom. New ideas and new opportunities are the currency of that growth. New ideas and new opportunities are the currency of that growth. Keep a watchful eye and listening ear for them. Expect every new person you meet to prosper your life in some way. Look for the gift they have to give you. The people that enter your world are not there by mistake. They have something good to offer you, and you have something good to offer them. Expect every transaction you enter into to prosper your life. Look for new ways to expand your influence in the world. The world is in need of what you've got. If this were not true, you wouldn't be alive. You have something valuable to contribute. That's why the intelligence that created the universe placed you here at this time in history. You possess a unique and valuable gift. Stay present and alert. Don't let the negativity in the world lull you to sleep with its monotony and mediocrity. You were made for greatness. So here's a question. How do you start your day? What's the first thing you do when you get out of bed? Gratitude? Gordon? Pray. Anybody else? Okay. Anybody else just go, man, I'm still tired. No? Okay, good. Does anybody go, God, just let me get through this day? No? Okay. How about, give me some of the other ones that you get out.
I hug my dog.
Okay. Show affection. Looking forward to the new day. It's really important how you lay out your intention at the beginning of a day. A lot of people get into routines. Pretty, get up, pee, start the coffee. Whatever that is, right? And they don't spend the time in gratitude or in prayer or in that place for the day. So setting your intention of the day early on is important. What do you typically expect each day to bring you? Okay. Health. Opportunity. Productivity. Creativity. Prosperity. Let me share some of the answers this morning because some of them have a little different spin to it. Some people just want to make it through the day. They say to themselves, you know what? I just got to get to my job, and I got to get my kids here, and I got to get my kids there, and I got to do this, and I got to do that. Just give me enough energy to get through the day. So some people have that as their intention, and that's really a rough way to start when you're already feeling like you're behind. Some people have the anticipation of challenges, like, oh God, what's going to come up today? So we have to be careful how we enter into that and what we typically expect of a day. You guys have really great, aspirations for a day. That's beautiful. Some people don't have that all the time. What do you usually tell yourself about the life as you set out in the world? What do you tell yourself as you embark upon your journey of the day? What's the message you give to yourself? Try to live in the here and now. Sorry? Hank says it's going to be a great day. Balance of giving and receiving, looking at the universe and the balance of things. These are all good answers. So these are good intentions to be able to set every day. All right? Next thing, what do you typically hope will happen as you set out in the world? Isn't that the same question? Pretty much. Let's go. Consider again, how would you show up in the world if I started each day new, free from the blocks? So we've already reviewed that. How would you start the day if tomorrow morning, if I said you didn't have these blocks, how would you start your day? We've actually already covered that. Actually, there's one more quick one, living with integrity. We're going to do that one next because that one is really cool. Here we go. Living with integrity means doing what you say you're going to do. It means actually taking action toward your highest vision, not just talking about it. To live a prosperous life, you have to honor your commitment to yourself and move forward boldly. You can't wait for prosperity to be delivered to your door. You must do what you say, then go out the door and pursue it by following your best ideas. Nobody likes a hypocrite. We are quick to point out the person who says one thing yet does another. We don't like it when people's actions don't support their words. If you say you want to live more prosperously, how do your actions support your words? What actions can you take today toward your highest vision? In order to do that, we have to look at a topic called boundaries. When you're talking about living with integrity, sometimes we have to set up boundaries. Has anyone ever felt like you've been taken advantage of? Okay? And when that happens, we can build up resentment and anger and more distrust, right? Because the whole thing about right now we're talking about trust. So some people, we set up boundaries. What makes a healthy boundary? Comfort? Honesty. Good. What else makes a healthy boundary? Yes? Yeah, being able to be able to voice your opinion and have it be honored. How's that? Does that summarize that? Anybody else? Sorry? Concrete parameters. Telling yourself this is where we want. This is where I have to go. This is where I feel comfortable. How about in the best case scenario? If you have to set up boundaries with someone, wouldn't it be great if they were mutually acceptable? If there was concurrence. Not just boundaries because you need to set up a defense, but boundaries so that you both feel comfortable in the relationship. Does that make sense? Boundaries don't have to be defensive to keep people from doing something. They can be set for the purposes of having mutual consent around an idea, whatever that may be. And that would require communication and consensus. And commitment. Does that make sense? Communication, consensus, commitment. So when you do that, a healthy boundary would be, you know what? We're in relationship together and we're having an issue. Let's talk about how we can create something around that so we're both comfortable. Go ahead, Dave.
I have a thing about boundaries.
Hang on, this is going to be long. Hold on.
It's not going to be really long.
Hold on, it's worthy of a microphone.
So I have this thing about boundaries, and I have had for a long time in my life. And what I have found is that I need to set boundaries that are reasonable, that I can live with integrity. I need to announce them so that people know what they are, and I need to honor them.
Okay, so you brought up a good point.
And that just works for me.
So here's my recommendation. If you're trying to set up some boundaries with a person, say there's something you really need to talk about and you want to set some boundaries up. One of the most effective methods, and some of you have heard this in class, is the feel, felt, found method. You might want to take a note on this. Feel, felt, found. I feel this way. You talk to the person. I feel this way. I have felt this way in the past. And what I have found is that when I'm feeling this way, I tend to build up resentment or anger or jealousy, whatever the emotion is. That way, when you have the conversation with someone, you're not saying, you are doing this to me. You're saying, I feel this way. I have felt this way in the past. And what I have found is that this is my reaction to it. So can we come up with some sort of solution together? That way you don't blame the other person. You take full responsibility for your feelings, and you offer communication to clear up whatever needs to be done. So how about creating the feel, felt, found communication line? Does that make sense? Brainstorm about what gets in the way of having healthy boundaries. What gets in the way of having healthy boundaries? Fear, resentment, anger. Boy, are we going to have fun the second half of class. Insecurity. Negative thoughts. What'd you say? Unclear. Yeah, no lack of clarity. Anybody else? Sounds like good to me. Sounds like you know what makes an unhealthy situation. Explore the answer to the question, how am I out of sync with my own integrity and what can I do about it? How are you out of sync with your own integrity? I'll tell you what, I'll just give you a recommendation. You see me out of sync all the time. I admit to being out of sync in front of you all the time, which is why my colleagues think I'm crazy. Like, never admit to your congregation that you have faults. Are you crazy? No, I'm like, absolutely admit that you have faults. The second you put people up on a pedestal, they just have further to fall. So it's like, no, I tell you when I'm out of sync. I tell you when I have thoughts that aren't, they're negative thoughts in nature. I'd rather have that honesty so I stay in integrity with you guys than having you believe that I don't have those thoughts. So my ability to communicate with you and your ability to communicate with other people may be what keeps you in integrity. Many times, people will not communicate the fact that they're feeling out of sync. They want their loved one or their partner or their family members to just figure it out. Assume that they know. Yeah, you should know. I mean, how long have we been together and you don't know that I'm upset about this? Have I met you before? Right? So we have to be really careful, because one of the ways that we can actually stay in integrity is to communicate when we are feeling uneasy about something and not wait till it gets to the point where there's resentments and anger and hostility and distrust and all that good stuff, right? All that negative stuff.
I have a disconnect with my sister. In fact, yesterday morning, this is what happened. So the disconnect is she says to me all the time, every time I see her, that I don't act the way that she wants me to act, and that I hurt her feelings because I maybe don't talk, or I talk too much, or I'm this way or that way. And it's a continuous problem, and I try to set up boundaries with her and try to be, let's be direct, let's talk about this, or just
So let's talk about
detach.
that. So
And
let's talk
I'm
about that,
having
Amy.
a problem with that.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what happens when someone you love and you're in a loving relationship with continues on a pathway that there's just no way to clean this up. Like what she's talking about here. What happens when you're in a situation like that? How do you become empowered to work your way through it and when you're in a situation like that? Do you live with this person? No. God, no. No, God, no. All right. So how do you get past that? I tell you what, Dr. Tom used to say this, and I'm not sure if I quite concur, but I still am on the fence with this one. Just because you shared a uterus doesn't mean you have to share dinner. Doesn't mean you love them less. It just means when we're together, there's so much conflict that we can't get through it. So we're better off not going there. And there are people in my life that I've had to do that with because of their toxicity. It's not because I love them less. It's just because. But when we're together, it's not fun. It's hurtful. It's not enjoyable. It feels wrong. So when something has that feeling associated with it and you can't work it through, I made every effort. I did feel, felt, found. I did the forgiveness. I've done all of that work. And finally I realized, you know what? We're just not meant to have dinner together. It's okay. And so I have to become okay with giving them safe passage. That doesn't mean I'm at, the carnival. When you go to a carnival and they have that little thing where the ducks go back and forth and you're, right? You're shooting the little ducks, right? Safe passage means you don't go, you don't have to do that. You don't have to cock the gun. You just give them safe passage. You put your weapons down and you go, I'm giving you safe passage through. You don't even have to say it. You just know in your mind, I'm giving them safe passage through. So I'm not sure it's a technique that I am consistently using, It works for me, but it may not work for other people because they're going to be like, how can you just knock people out of your life? No, I'm not knocking them out. I still love them. I adore them. I pray for them. But what I don't do is I don't put myself in a situation where you can only put your hand in the meat grinder so many times before you realize it's stupid to put my hand back in the meat grinder, right? So there are certain times when you go, I'm done putting my hand in there. So I take a step back. Michael.
Interesting. There was someone that
Hold on. I turned it off. I apologize. Go ahead. Flick it on. There you go.
There was someone, family, who I cut out of my life, didn't see for 8 years. Don't know why, but reconnected with this person in June. And the shift in this person, somewhere in those 8 years, was now that this person is a delight to be with. All of that prior energy is gone, and I look forward to spending time with this person. And I'm grateful that perhaps the break was there, but I'm also grateful that I retested the waters, and what a delightful surprise.
And guess what,
perhaps I
Michael?
shifted.
That's what I was going to say.
Perhaps.
My guess is you're not the same person you were 8 years ago. So you look at things differently. So they may have changed, and I bet you changed. But either way, if you're meant to intercept again, you will. You will. And you did. So if it's part of the divine design to reestablish loving, healthy relationships, and someone shows up again in your life, you may have to take a look at it. That's all I'm saying. You may have to take a look at it. If you're praying for more loving, right relationships, and someone shows up, by all means, explore that this might be something to look at. Don't dismiss it because of a history. No one comes in your life as a mistake. No one. They're either there to help you move into a greater experience, or they're there to help you show you what you don't want to experience in life. Either way, they come with a message attached. They also, believe it or not, come with a timeline. Not everybody's going to be here forever and ever, amen, right? People come with the timeline. Some people come in for a while and they leave. Some people come in for a lifetime and they make their transition first. Whatever that is, they don't come in forever. Nothing is forever. It's just for now. So cherish it as just for now. Treat it as if it's a gift in the now, because you don't know when something's going to change. So be part of that gift. Allow yourself to experience it. But also tell yourself, if I keep running into the same old wall over and over and over again, it's probably you and it's probably them. And the best thing out is to call time out, throw the flag up and go, all right, go to your corners for a while. And just make the best of it. On that note, let's make the best of the food that's out in the lobby. We'll resume at 7:40. So we'll take 15 minutes. So my live streamers, I'll be back in 15 minutes. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you. Let me turn that off. All right, everybody, let's go back to work. Thank you for those who brought snacks. Thank you, thank you. Beautiful. All right, did everybody get, you know what? No one reminded me to hand the PowerPoints out this evening. So here's belated PowerPoints from this morning, or for this evening. Okay, we ready? Let's go back in. I want you to grab your workbooks now. We're going to move into the workbook. We're going to move into this segment called forgiveness. Have you noticed that forgiveness is in every curriculum we teach? That there is not a class that we teach that somehow does not bring up the subject of forgiveness. And why do you think that is? I would say this, forgiveness is one of the biggest blocks we have to our good. And that when we are not in the flow, the first place we should look is where we are not exercising forgiveness. Forgiveness is the biggest block there is. And it doesn't just block one thing. It blocks all things. You can't just say, well, just in this area of my life, I'm being impacted. It's not true. Everything impacts everything. If there's a river flowing through here, if I can't just put my foot in, unless my foot isn't attached, then it's going to go down the river. Outside of that, I'm out of the flow. Any lack of forgiveness takes you out of the flow. Are you ready? What, in your opinion, are the benefits and obstacles to forgiveness work? Let's talk about the benefits of forgiveness work. The benefits only. What are the benefits? Feeling very light. Freedom. Your heart's open. Peace. No resentment. You move forward. You feel physically better. Have you ever noticed that when you have an emotional turmoil, your body feels exhausted even though you haven't moved a muscle? Okay? So that means that kind of emotional stress causes a lot of stuff in your body to go wrong. All right? So what are the benefits? Keeps you healthier. Keeps your relationships flowing. Keeps you in the flow, right? Anything else? You're just happy, right? You just feel better. What are some of the obstacles to forgiveness work? What are some of the obstacles that keep you from doing your forgiveness work? Ego, someone else, distrust, attachment. Sorry? There isn't two right answers, okay? I agree with that. What other obstacles get in the way of forgiveness? How about, I'm just not ready yet? Anyone ever suffer from the, I'm just not ready to forgive that person yet? Yeah? How could I? How could I forgive something of that magnitude? And anybody ever had those feelings? So those are your obstacles. So we're going to talk about that. What suggestions do you have for someone trying to forgive the unforgivable? So we have that, I'm not ready to forgive, it's too big, I'm not willing to forgive. What suggestions do you have for a person that's experiencing that?
Remember that you're forgiving them for yourself.
Right. You're not forgiving them, you're forgiving yourself. Gary? Yeah. Oh, there's a wrap right there. Yeah, I don't know why it's kind of kicked on. Yeah, it's set at 76. Where was I? I lost my flow. Hold on, let me get back into my flow. Forgiveness for myself, all right? When you say that to someone who has an issue forgiving someone else, it's really hard for them to identify with those words. Have you ever noticed that? If someone says, I know this happened to you, but it's not forgiveness for you, or it's not forgiveness for them, it's forgiveness for you. And you're like, that doesn't make my pain go away. Have you ever noticed that? Is that a true statement? I mean, people have noticed that before? Have you experienced it before? Because of that, you have to look at what forgiveness is. We talk about this all the time. Forgiveness isn't you taking the person out of jail, right? It's you getting out of jail. It's not making them right and you wrong, or them wrong and you right. It's not condoning, but it's giving you the key to get out of the prison that you're holding they're not holding you there. You're holding yourself there. You volunteered to go into the room and lock the door. Forgiveness unlocks the door. If you don't, you choose to no longer be a victim. Now you're a volunteer for your pain. So you have to convert from this happened to me to I willingly accept this situation now. The punishment for it, the recourse, whatever it is, the discourse, the dis-ease of something. Does that make sense? I know. I got it. I love you, Jerry. You're really one of my hardest students. I so appreciate that. You have. You don't have to face them. What happens if they're dead? You can't face them anyway. What's that? Good. Good. And it's a hard thing to, but I tell you what, but eventually you have to understand that in and of itself, you probably didn't put it in as a block. I did. Okay? But I bet most of you did not put a lack of forgiveness as one of your blocks. But I can tell you, it's like a giant brick wall that you're building in front of the flow of a big pipe of your good. So let's imagine a pipe going through here. And I'm just going to take bricks and I'm just going to build this big old wall right in front of it. If you knew that those bricks of unforgiveness were keeping the flow from going in and out of your life, if you knew that, why would you allow them to stay there? Because many people, it's because my ego. You know what? I'm not going to forget that. Are you kidding? And let them get away with it? I got news for you. They're long gone. They didn't get away. They're long gone. But what room are you still in? The room of resentment and unforgiveness. They're long gone. They're sleeping all night long. They're not thinking of you. They're whatever, however you want to define them. But they're not impacted by your inability to forgive. The only person who's impacted is you. What does it mean if you find that you are not able to forgive someone or something? What does it mean if you can't? What it means if you absolutely cannot do it? Okay? All right? Some people are good at segregating that, separating that, and putting it into a silo and saying, yes, I can do it. But for most people, they don't have that because in the back of their mind, it still travels. Scotty.
We're talking about the back of the mind. What happens when it's really deep in your subconscious and it comes through in dreams? You feel like you've let go, or I feel like I've let go.
Well, because Scott, you're never done. You're never done. Because as it pops up again, you have to have that conversation with yourself over and over and over again. Because, and Michael and I were talking about this in the break, our subconscious minds are really powerful stuff, right? And the only thing that can change the subconscious, right, or the subjective mind is a conscious thought. So I was giving you an example. Those of you in my 100 class, you've heard this before. When I was doing a contract, I was working on, this is early 80s when laptop computers were the size of the keyboard over here, right? Right, they were monsters. And we were working on a laptop, putting a contract in, and we had 1,000 pages typed. We had retyped and reformatted this entire contract. It was a huge project, and it was my turn to type. So I'm typing away, and then the thing came up, do you want to overwrite what's on here? And I had a blank page, and I didn't think about it. There was just a blank page, and so I overwrote a blank page over 1,000 pages of documents, and what happened to the 1,000 pages? They went away. So what did I end up saving? A blank page. Weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks worth of work. Okay? The conscious and subconscious mind works the same way. You may have decades of subconscious acceptance or subconscious issues, all right? But the only thing that's going to change that is the conscious thought. That moves it. Now, it doesn't spin off. Remember when you would delete something? It didn't delete it from the hard drive. It just deleted it from your memory bank or your memory capacity, but it was still on the computer. So we had this thing called Norton Utility. So if I installed this little Norton Utility thing, I could get it back, but it would be encrypted and it would take me weeks and weeks to fix it, but I could get it back. The point being, nothing ever leaves and spins off the drive. It stays in the computer. And at the weirdest times, we'll have a dream about it, or a smell, or a word, or something will trigger in you. That thing will come back up again, and guess what? You have to go through the process of overwriting it again. It's a constant process of overwrite, overwrite, overwrite. The enlightened mind is the one that can overwrite as things pop up and speak their truth and not take what it is as the answer, but what it shall be is the answer.
Because I'm stunned that I still have dreams, that some of the dreams I'm having at this point.
I'm sure.
How could that be that we're so hard to forgive?
But so don't beat yourself up about it. Now here's where we're in metaphysicians. This is where we kind of metaphysically beat ourselves up. We go, what was it in my consciousness that brought that up? Well, you can't control what you dream about. So you have no control over you have no control over it. Yeah, I'm positive. You have no control because it's just going to surface. You know what? It's like grief. Grief is the same way. Grief is the same way. When you're grieving, and you could think, grief is a soccer ball. And when someone makes the transition, the soccer ball hits you in the face, right? Just bam, it just hurts, it stings, it's ouch. But the soccer ball eventually rolls onto the floor, right? And then as you're grieving, sometimes that soccer ball will just kick you, and it'll just hit you in different parts of your body, and you'll feel the grief. And then it will roll off to the side. And over time, it kind of rolls over to the corner of the room, but you don't know it, and out of the clear blue sky, something will trigger that, and boom, the ball will come rushing at you again. And you're like, okay, I have to deal with it again, and you go through that process, whatever that is, and then eventually it moves out to the backyard. Now, it's not hidden behind a tree because no one ever leaves your life. They're always, they were there. They were part of your life. So in grieving, the ball goes outside, and next thing you know, that ball shoots through the window and smacks you on the face. And then it rolls right back out again. You can't control it. It's just something that happens to us. And in our humanity, we can't be perfect and say, this is never going to surface again. Because we don't know when things are going to trigger certain things. Because we were born, the first 3 to 6 years of our life, that's where all the triggers were installed. And if we know that if the first 3 to 6 years that's when all my triggers were installed, you can't, as much as we want to be able to go and eliminate the triggers, we can do a lot of work around them, but they're still going to pop up. Does that make sense? Yeah, I know it's uncomfortable. It's not the right answer. You want me to go, there comes a time when it won't pop up again. Yeah, you're not doing anything wrong. Even when you've done your forgiveness work, and even though it comes up again, you have done nothing wrong to trigger that. Just understand, it's just part of our humanity that makes things that things just pop up, and now we can use our divinity to override it because we have the tools now. I have the tools to do what's necessary. Before, I didn't have the tools. I would just sit in my resentment and my anger. Now I understand that my get out of jail card exists when I decide to exercise it. Make sense? Michael.
Something about our buttons when they're triggered. And this is from Dr. Kathy.
Open that up. Is it on? Go ahead. Thank you. Punch it up. There you go.
Dr. Kathy Hearn shares this, and it really resonates with me. Someone may have pushed your button, my button, and I react. And when I do, Dr. Hearn says, Michael, I may have pushed your button, but I did not install it. You installed it by not having a gate up at your mind at the time of the original incident. So you can't play victim and say, you pushed my button. Michael's the one who installed that button by allowing it in. And the only one who can uninstall that is Michael. So it moves me beyond reactivity and from victimhood into empowerment. And I love that.
Yep. That's actually a line in Sorted Wedding. You may have installed my buttons, Mama, but I'm not going to let you push them. It is. Have you seen Sorted Wedding yet? Yeah. You've never seen me like that before. Next line. When is it not a good idea to push through with forgiveness? When is it not a good idea to push through forgiveness? Can you come up with this situation where it's not a good idea to push through forgiveness?
I think those things have to season. For me,
Have to what?
they have to season.
Have to season.
Have to be ready.
There you go.
Have to be complete.
There has to be a readiness on your part. Have you ever told someone this is what you should do? And they go, yeah, no. Right? No one can tell you when you can begin this process, but there has to be a readiness on your part. Because anything other than that, it's just rejection. It's not going to work. You have to be ready. And now, let's talk about being ready. What does it take to be ready? When is it finally going to express itself and say like this? I'm ready because I'm really not wanting to have this block in my way anymore. Right? You have to get to that heart space and go, I'm done with this. Now, you can either get there quickly or it can take you a long time to get there. Either way, just remember the bricks in front of the flow. There's a rock in front of you. There's a brick in front of you, and only you can remove it. So if you're willing to sacrifice flow, then by all means hang on to it. But my recommendation is we season quickly. My recommendation is that we see that it's better to move on it than it is to hold it longer. And that the enlightened person, the one who does this spiritual work, is the one who will go, you know what? I am not going to let this impact my ability to have a good life. I have to step forward first. I'm willing to do the work. So no one is asking you to be perfect, but what we are saying is improve your timeline so that you don't sit in that place longer than you have to. Does that make sense? What does holding life more softly mean to you? In forgiveness work, we have to hold life more softly.
Let things go that have passed their time.
Okay? We keep things way past their expiration date. Not just food, but people. Relationships. Our attachment to a financial situation or financial insecurity. We keep things way past their expiration date.
Resentment being one of them.
Resentment, absolutely. What does it mean to hold things more softly? Here, put your hands out just like this. People, imagine taking sand and going to the sand and pick up some sand with your hand. And now if you just held it like that, what do you have in your hand? A bunch of sand. Now, if you squeezed it like this, just really tight, what would happen? Where would the sand go? out the sides, right? Eventually, you'd open it up and you go, gosh, I had so much in it before, but now half of it's gone, right? If we try to hold life like this, life flows with us. When we hold life like this, there's no way this is no place that flow cannot exist when you hold on like this. Flow only exists with this. So it's begging us to be more soft with each other and not be so quick to go to this. It's really easy to get to this. Cut me off on 111 and I go right here, right? Right? But I need to be more gentle, more forgiving, more soft. Soften the edges a little bit. Make it so that you're living your life more like this and not struggling with it. Can you identify a place in your life where you might hold life more softly? Sorry? Okay. Appreciating nature. You can be more, at night when you're reflecting, you can hold yourself more gently. Out hiking, whatever that is. Self-care. How about just self-care? You know, forgive yourself for not taking care of yourself. How about that? Forgive yourself for not doing that and now step into what it means to take care of yourself. To eat right and exercise and get enough sleep and all those things, right? To challenge yourself like you're doing now. You know, there's not a whole lot of people. We've got hundreds of people in the center, but there's only 28 people here, and there were 38 people this morning that are on this spiritual journey. So give it up to you. You're actually taking care of yourself spiritually. You're doing something proactive. So that's what it means. Hold yourself softly and be more gentle with yourself, because we're our harshest critics. We're the ones that are always down on ourselves. And now, especially in a class like this, when you look and you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe the situations in my life I brought about in some way, shape, or form, and you feel responsible and accountable for that, and you start feeling really negative. It's like, oh my gosh, how could I? So there comes a point where you sort of beat yourself down because of this awareness, and I don't want you to do that. I want you to go, I'm so glad I'm here, because from this day forward, I have these new ideas. From this day forward, I can change the way this looks. It doesn't have to be carrying the same thing forward. It can be a new day today, a new night tonight. All right, can you identify any opinions or points of view that you are unwilling to surrender? This one's really easy for me. Yeah, I have a few. Anybody have any that you are unwilling to surrender? Gordon? Yeah, okay. Does anyone want to share what you're unwilling to surrender or give up? Does anybody want to share that?
I have several friends
I'm going to give you the microphone, Gordon.
and enjoy smoking weed.
Go like this. Put it up to your mouth, please, for my people
I
at home.
have friends who I have known 40, 50 years who enjoy smoking weed. I have never smoked marijuana in my life, and I do not intend on smoking any.
Okay.
It's just one of those things.
You're not willing to surrender to the pot, is what you're telling me. You're not willing to surrender to the weed. All right, good. All right, anybody else? I love that. That's good. That no carb, no sugar thing, not going to happen, right? How about this? Yes, sir. Hold on. Let me get it to you.
Struggle here for a while. Some of my political opinions.
There you go. There you go. That's the one I'm looking for right there. In this era right now, in this era, we have definite camps of the people who are unwilling to surrender either way. There's this camp and there's that camp, and there's definitely disagreement between the camps.
That's called Congress.
Yeah, well, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm not going to call anybody out, but I'm going to say that we need to understand that our willingness to hold on to that is affecting the world. For some reason, our country affects the world, right? And we see it. So this what we're doing with each other is not just affecting us in the United States. It's affecting the world. There is a vibration, and now it doesn't matter what camp you're in. Both of them have clenched hands. So no matter the way we look at this, it's not their fault or their fault. It's the fact that everybody's got clenched fists. And our world is reflecting that angst. And that's why I truly believe, and now you're going to think I'm crazy, but I also believe it affects the earth, the vibration of the earth. Because if everything is a vibration, then I don't care whether it's dissent among people or a hurricane, right? It's an energy. And I mean, when we're seeing that energy play out in chaos, and it's yielding chaos. Why? Because of this. No one's willing to say surrender to it. So we have to understand that we are just as much in this battle, no matter what side you're on, because we're all a part of this feeling. So we have to disengage from it. So when we have those feelings, which are, in my opinion, they're natural feelings, given you when you look at something in our humanity, we go, what the, right? So it's natural to feel that way, but we're going to have to counter that with a spiritual solution that begins to open up the hands. And that's what I try to do in here. I try to take those hands and open them just a little bit. I'm not talking we're going to walk around going kumbaya right now. But I have to at least change our energy around it and continue to change our energy around it, or we will continue to experience the effects of that energy. So our inability to surrender this on either side, I truly believe is having an effect on the world. So make a list of people in your life with whom you have incomplete business. When Dr. Tom was making his transition years ago, when I went down to visit him, he was in, I think, Orange County or someplace down there. And I sat with him and I said, okay, who do you need to see before you go? Because he knew he was going to go, right? I think people mostly know when you're going to go. And I said, who do you need to see? And he gave me a list of people that he was incomplete with, that things were left in such a way that there was this sense of not being complete. And that can affect a person when they're making their transition, believe it or not. I've sat with people watching them go through the angst of those incomplete relationships while they're there, right? And so I said, who do you need to reach and let me know, or who do I need to reach out to and invite them to come visit you? And so he wrote down these people, and we wrote them down, and I got a hold of them, and I was very happy and very, very content, I guess, that they all agreed to go down and visit him because they were incomplete. They knew they felt the incompleteness of something. And so they went down and they visited, and they both became complete. It wasn't who's right, who's wrong. It's just, it really doesn't matter now. My love for you transcended what happened. So let's just kind of work through this. And so they kind of made a commitment to do that. And you don't have to wait till you're dying to do that. I would recommend that maybe, just maybe, this list would represent bricks in front of your flow. That in some way, shape, or form, they are bricks that are currently affecting your flow. Like plaque in your arteries. It's still flowing, but it's not flowing as fast as it could. Right? And it's up to you to make that move. And you can do it or not. Either way, now you're a volunteer. You can only claim victim once. After that, you're a volunteer. So now when you know that you know, and you can't not know, you can't ring the bell. When you have this knowledge, and if anything we said tonight made sense, right? If it made sense, and you kind of nodded your head affirmatively, and you went, yeah, this makes sense. If that is a part of you now, you can't unring that. You can run, you can not come back, but you can't run from the fact that you know what's keeping us from the flow. Does that make sense? So make a list. And if you feel so compelled, reach out and say, I feel incomplete about this. We may not agree. We may have to agree to disagree. But my love for you transcends transcends my anger for you. Because what has to win out in the end? Love. So if we know that love has to prevail, how could you come from that place, even if the other person is not even the slightest bit interested in having that conversation? Then all you need to do, if you want, is to write a letter and just send it. Absolutely. There has to be no concurrence on their part. Because what's the forgiveness for again? Would you feel complete if you said what you needed to say in a loving, gentle way? And at the end, you're like, my love for you transcends all of this? Signed, Joe. What happened if you got a letter from somebody like that? Would that change your opinion a little bit? Because you'd look at it, and they may in the letter have just outlined everything that you did that was absolutely awful, right? Right? It doesn't matter what's in the letter. What matters is the ending. You can say what you need to say as long as you're loving in the approach. I feel this way. This is how I have felt. I feel this. Not you did. I felt this. I felt this way. Take responsibility for your feelings, not based on their action, but you're based on your response. I have felt this, and I wanted to share this with you, and my love for you transcends these feelings, so I just wanted you to know that I love you, Joe. And then you can mail it. By all means, do it. Purge it. Whether they respond or not, doesn't matter, does it? What did you do? Yes. Well, let's talk about that. How can you, okay, so let's back into this. Let's back into that. No, that's a legitimate question. I mean, that's very legitimate. Can I love someone that I don't, can I love someone as God's child without having the relationship with them? Without giving them a label, other than they are God's child. Think about this. Just think about the example. Think about the example. I'm going to use a Christian example. When Jesus was being crucified, what did he say? Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Did he say, stay pissed at them? Did he say, let's start a war? Did he say, my people gather together, let's gang up on the... No. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Yeah, forgive them. What does it say? Okay, so I know you're a woman of Scripture. This is good. What does it say? The last phrase in the New Testament says, love one another. That's what it was. That's what we were told, right? If you want to go to Scripture to it. So attach yourself. Does it say, except for those people? Does it give a disclaimer? Does it say, love your neighbor but skip this one? Or that one? So we either have to go all in, or we have to understand the effects of staying partly out. Does that make sense? It's not comfortable, Barbara. It's not comfortable at all. There are people that, but to see, when you see it, and you've seen it on TV, we've witnessed it before, where a parent of a child that was gunned down in a shooting says to the person who shot them, I forgive you, I love you, thank you, move on. Right? Move on. And they move off of it. They say it, I forgive you, I love you as God's child, I'm done. And they walk out the door. as as a child of God, you don't have to say, I love them and I want to have lunch with you. There's no necessity to do that. The only necessity we have, I believe, that we are love one another. Then, Gordon, you have to examine why you're unable to do that, because there's something standing in your way to do that. They're not standing in the way. You're standing in your way of your own heart becoming by that. Gordon, I know you disagree with me. It's okay. But,
Let me explain to you why I disagree.
okay, go for it.
I was drafted into the Army.
Uh-huh.
I took all the Army tests and everything. They said I was qualified to go to OCS. I went to OCS. I didn't have 6 months in the Army, and I took somebody's spot in OCS that had 10, 12, 15 years in the service.
Okay.
I graduated from OCS. I went to airborne training. I went to ranger training. I went to jungle warfare. I went to winter warfare. I went to every kind of killing school the Army had.
Okay.
There were missions that I was sent on. Number one, to gather intelligence, not necessarily to kill anybody. Don't make any waves. Don't kill anybody there.
Okay.
There were a couple of times that we got backed up in a corner and we had to kill to get out.
Okay.
I did not like warfare like that.
No.
Now, if you want to put everybody in warfare, fine, I'll go. I got out of the Army because I couldn't kill like that.
Right. So,
That bothers me, and I can't agree to your.
why would that bother you that you did that you had to leave that because you had a conscious objection to killing someone else? Why would that bother you if that is indeed where your heart was?
That has bothered me for years and years and years. How could I go through all of that training, go through all of
I understand that.
history, do everything like that?
Gordon,
I knew that I didn't like it then.
if your litmus test for yourself is, I can't do this to another human being,
If you jump on me, I'm going to get
right? If you are attacked, you will respond,
Yes.
right? I understand that. It's the human nature of when I'm attacked, I will respond. But how about if, I'm just saying, there's years of your compliance with this idea. So I'm probably not going to shift it too much in 2 minutes here. But all I would say is this. I have no idea why you would beat yourself up about not being able to kill another human being, because in my mind, if that's your litmus test and you felt so strongly about it and you held on to your truth can't be wrong, because you held on to it at a time when it was probably really difficult to stand in that truth and take what you had to take to stand in your truth. So by standing in your truth and being authentic to yourself and being true to yourself, if your litmus test was really, I can't kill another human being, then I say, good for you, Gordon. Don't feel bad about it. Stand in your truth, because that was the right thing for you to do. Because you so loved, listen to me, look at me. You so loved your brother and sister that you didn't even know, but they were your brother and sister by being human. You could not take their life. That is huge to have that realization. So in my mind, you don't even have to say you love them, Gordon. You proved that you love them.
Sir, you were a hero because you left. You killed that word.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to go to war and kill someone.
But let's take the label off of it. But do you understand what I'm saying, Gordon?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So you don't want to say it, but your actions speak so loudly I can't hear what you say anyway. Your actions spoke volumes, so I don't need to hear what you say, because your actions spoke love and truth for you. So good on you. Does that make sense? No. Yeah, I get it. I know. This is, how old were you at the time? How old were you? Yeah.
30 plus.
So you've had 50 years to bake this,
Yes, I have. And that's why it's
And I tell you what, I'm not going to scrape it off the pan after 50 years. But I at least will put a little dent into it and go, maybe, just maybe, food for thought. Whew.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Gordon, because I think everybody in the room can see that. It's amazing. Thank you. All right, next week, our last week together. How many of you have had Beyond Limits or a Foundations class? How many of you have had Beyond Limits or a Foundations class, a Science of Mind 100 class? How many of you have had self-mastery? Okay, so you guys would be served well by Beyond Limits. Now, if you've had Beyond Limits before, it doesn't matter. You're not the same person. That 8 years ago, when you took it, you're not the same person that you are now. So if you've had Beyond Limits, I would encourage you, I'm probably going to teach this class starting in January again, on Monday evenings and Monday mornings. You can swap back and forth. It is what we call, even if you've been around for 20 years, every conversation we have, like tonight, is not scripted in curriculum, right? So the curriculum is what it is. But we're going to have pertinent conversations about how you can get beyond your limits that you've placed in your life. And it's a 10-week course. We're going to have 2 weeks off in February because I'll be gone for 2 weeks. So it's going to be probably like the first 12 weeks of the year. Take us to probably mid-March. And then after that, I'll do self-mastery, which is you have to have Beyond Limits to take self-mastery, or foundations. You have to be in Laura's class right now, or you have to have had Beyond Limits to get into self-mastery. You can't come in as a rookie. You've got to have at least that class under your belt. So I don't know what your intention is, but you all seem pretty engaged in this evening's classes. So just kind of know that that's probably on the horizon for January. And you might want to set your calendar to it because you can say, you know what, I want to continue this journey in the new year, 2018, new year, new you. We're trying it all over again. You're going to take the all-new approach this next year, and this would be a great way to start that. So think about taking that class, all right? So let's close for tonight. You know what the homework is. It's complete the workbook and complete your journal, all right? That's it. There's no project next week. Just complete your notebook, complete your journal. We're going to do much the same next week. Good class? Yes. Yeah? Okay, good. All right, so let's pray our way out, yes? Yes. All right, let's take a deep breath in. Thank you, beloved presence, for this incredible experience tonight. Thank you for opening up hearts and minds. Thank you for allowing us to gather together as a spiritual community safely and to be able to speak our truth and to be able to be honest with ourselves and the group around us and feel comfortable and safe and secure. Thank you, beloved presence, for those people who brought in our food for the nourishment to get us through this evening, and for our staff and volunteers who created this beautiful experience for us. Thank you, beloved presence, for just this overwhelming sense that something good has been planted in the consciousness of each and every person here tonight, myself included. That there is a seed that is going to create for us and demonstrate an incredible new beginning and a way to look at life in a completely different way, free from this, the bondage and limitation that we have set for ourselves. So knowing that this wonderful thing happened tonight, knowing that this seed of transformation is firmly planted in the consciousness of those people who are here in this room and those who are joining us on the love stream, I just say thank you, thank you, thank you. And as I release my word to the law of mind, I know that it is done unto us, and we will continue to believe more and more and evolve to a greater acceptance of that which is our truth. As I release my word, we let it be so, and together we say, and so it is. Amen. Good class, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a good week. And if you didn't do your thank you notes this week, get them out. Get them out. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.